I'm trying to keep on schedule. We have the CEO of my. Oh man, I'm gonna let Anthony just do it. He's gonna join us in there. My tongue is getting all twisted and tied, Lee. We're getting to that stretch. This is what happened to me last year. He is our next guest. He's going to join us and talk about the company he is involved with, the treatments for FSHD, what is on the down the pipeline. We welcome Anthony Selah now. Hello, Anthony. How are you doing?
Hi, Tim. Thanks for having me on today. How are you doing as well?
I'm hanging in, buddy. I'm hanging in, and this is definitely the marathon stretch of my whatever hour this is. I've been doing this. It is fun. Don't get me wrong. It is fun. But having great guests like you is why it is fun. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and forgive me, my mouth is drying out, sir, and I'm going to let you kind of take the wheel and introduce yourself for us.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Anthony Selah. I'm a scientist, and I work on a special type of therapeutics called RNA therapeutics. Our company, Miracule, I'm one of the co-founders of that company. That's our focus, is building RNA therapeutics. And like you said, we're also working on RNA therapeutic for FSHD. Just to give you a little more background about myself personally, I actually happened to be an FSHD patient, and that drove a lot of the decision for the company to just focus on that area and hopefully help make a disease for the disorder.
Wow. Now, tell us a little bit about, if you don't mind sharing that part of your life, the FSHD story, diagnosis part.
Yeah.
What was the onset for you, and obviously this drives the passion of what you're doing now.
Yeah, no. Thank you, Tim, for that. So yeah, my family, FSHD runs in my family. I have a hereditary case. My father and several of my uncles were diagnosed probably about 6 years ago. We had run in our family for a long time. One of my uncles in particular had a lot of symptoms, but it had just never been diagnosed. It had been misdiagnosed many times, and eventually he went to a doctor that diagnosed it correctly. And then it was like dominoes throughout the family, like people started to get diagnosed and understand the disorder better. Yeah, unfortunately for my initial uncle that diagnosed, he's wheelchair bound now, and he's doing pretty well. He's in physical therapy and other things, but the disease continues to progress for him as he enters his 70s. So we're all real hopeful that we'll see something that helps him in his lifetime. One of my other uncles, who was diagnosed a little later, has a milder form. He was lucky enough to be in one of the clinical trials for one of the novel therapeutics coming up. So we're fingers crossed. I won't say what one, but fingers crossed that starts to have some efficacy for him. And as we continue to learn more about the disorder, and my family continues to learn more about it, more and more of us have been diagnosed, and we meet more people in the community with it. And so I think it is a disorder that will have a therapeutic for probably in the next 5 to 6 years. Really, I think that's realistic. We have an approved drug.
That's that is amazing. I mean, if that can happen, and of course with the work you're doing specifically, how is Miracule?
Miracule, yeah. It's a play on words. It's funny. So we were looking at RNA and the word molecule, and we put them together, and we thought, oh, isn't this cute? And we didn't realize it was one letter different from Miracle. And so we were walking around telling everyone the name of our new company, and they're like, wow, that's really ambitious name for a drug company. And we're like, what are you talking about? and then we're like, oh, Miracle, we're almost there. But then we liked it, so we stuck with it. Well, as you know, FSHD is caused by expression of the embryonic transcription factor DUX4, right? And that is expressed from the D4Z4 locus. I won't go too much into the science, but as that expression happens, there's an intermediary molecule called RNA, and we can target that to prevent the toxic DUX4 protein from being expressed. And that's a strategy that several companies are pursuing to create a potential therapeutic. So there's ours, and there's 2 or 3 other companies that want to go after that RNA intermediate. And that's the temporary molecule that kind of creates the message that creates DUX4 protein. And so we have a molecule that we've developed, several molecules actually that are preliminary, that we can design, deliver to cells, and block that RNA intermediate and then DUX4 protein, and hopefully kind of help cure the disorder. Our molecules currently are preclinical. All of the RNA therapeutics that are in development right now are at the preclinical stage. And so we're really hopeful within the next couple of years we can, kind of finish optimizing the chemistry of the drug. So we have a lead compound, and then test that lead compound in animal models for safety, any other safety models the FDA may require, and then, within a couple of years, be looking at giving that drug to patients in early clinical trials, right? Wow. And I think with all the companies that we're competing with, I mean, we're competitors, we're all working on RNA therapeutics, but it's amazing, I know all of the executives in those other companies, and we talk about it, and I think in a way a lot of us want each other to succeed, because we at the end of the day we really just want to help patients and see a drug created for a disorder where there isn't anything there right now.
What is probably the biggest challenge you have in regards to working on this to get it to that clinical trial step, which is obviously a huge step?
Yeah. I mean, drug development is inherently risky, right? Because the way we develop drugs is we kind of build models of in vitro cell culture or in animals of the disease itself, right? But those models they're not perfect models for human disorders and how a compound will work in a person, right? So you kind of take a big risk when you test in animals and you test in preclinical models to make that you're not really sure if it'll work the same way in people, which is why 9 out of 10 drugs that we develop in an early stage and go through and look very promising in preclinical studies don't work once you get them to people, right? And so that's really the biggest challenge, is knowing that your models are like the models you're using and the experiments you're doing in your preclinical studies are going to predict what's going to happen in patients. The other big challenge is always just getting enough money. It's a very expensive process to make the high quality type of therapeutic you would need to give to patients and to test it in monkeys, to make sure it's safe enough. Those are all really expensive. So it's a huge investment in banding together with investors or government agencies or funding organizations like FSHD. That always takes a long time to bring everyone on the same page, validate the therapeutic, and get it to the next stage, get it into testing people.
And like having FSHD yourself, do you feel a little more the pressure or maybe it's better the need to kind of hurry up? Like you can feel, I guess it is pressure, right? That kind of move it along, or even frustration because it can take a while.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, being around drug development for so long, you really don't want to rush, because safety is so important, efficacy is so important, and it just takes time to measure those things. Although it's been amazing what's been accomplished in COVID. No one thought that drug development could happen as fast as it has this year for coronavirus and for the vaccines that we've seen. So it really goes to show you, if all of society decides to focus their mind on something, you can do it a lot quicker. But I think to get back to your original question, for me, it's about commitment, right? And just staying the course and pushing and pushing and pushing as hard as we can. And, of course, we want to go faster. We want to get there quicker if we can. But at the same time, the most important thing is that we have a safe drug that works. We don't want to ask the patients that test that early drug to test anything that we don't absolutely know we've de-risked as much as possible for their safety. You know what I mean? And hope that to learn as much as we can about making it effective as well.
Do you think though that COVID-19 vaccine, do you think that that adds to people's, expectation level? Because like, wait a minute, this thing came out within a year. They're talking about it. It's like right there, but they're kind of missing the point of how much money that took and what was all involved. I think you get a sense that there could be this false sense of, well, if that happened so fast, why is it taking so long for us?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I hadn't actually really thought about it, but that's probably definitely true. I mean, the government and investors put probably $1 billion behind each of those vaccines. And that's on average what it costs to build a drug, even when you're not going at lightning speed, right? Yeah, it's sometimes it just, I think people probably may have, expectations that you could do it faster if you had the resources and you had the money pushing it forward, but it's hard to bring all that to bear quickly like that.
Has COVID-19 itself given you any type of delay within your process? I've asked this with other researchers that have come on and doctors that have come on that are kind of in the trenches with where you are, and some have had a slight delay, and some it's almost been a little bit of a blessing. So I'm kind of curious from your point of view, how has it affected your work?
No, I definitely think it's slowed us down. We have, it's been a difficult process adjusting to. Yeah, and I think that between trying to be as safe as possible for the people we work with, and kind of slowing down our ability to hire more people and to push forward projects faster. I definitely think it was like we didn't stop working. We kept working all the time on what we were, on therapeutic we're trying to develop. But I think it probably would have been faster if it had not been for coronavirus.
Yeah. So then what does that look like for your timeline? I mean, then in essence, does it delay things a little more than you anticipated?
Yeah. I think we'd be a few months farther along in the process if it wasn't for COVID. Yeah, definitely.
Blame COVID. Well, yeah, but at the same time, it is what it is, and then of course there's always hope. The fact that you're working hard at it is huge, despite all the challenges. I'm not sure where FSHD is for you, as in its progress and the toll it's taken on your body. Do you foresee though that FSHD might get in the way of you working on this treatment?
No, that's a really good question, Tim. I'm blessed enough to have a very mild case today, and I'm in my 40s now, so likely I won't be as severe as some of my family members. And I think the one of the things about being a scientist is it's largely an intellectual pursuit a lot of the time, and I have to say that I haven't seen in the FSHD community any impact on our ability to think and have great ideas and push things forward, so even if I do have symptoms that affect my ability to walk, I expect to be able to push through that and continue advancing our therapeutic program.
Is it then that work is maybe for you a little bit of an emotional therapy? And we were talking with David Younger earlier, who is about mindfulness and kind of the mental side of FSHD. And then even, Amy Becky, you're commenting about how she focuses volunteering, and that's kind of her coping mechanism. Is it safe to say that possibly this work you're doing is your way of kind of mentally coping with what it is of FSHD?
Yeah, that's an interesting concept. I definitely think that it gives me drive and purpose to work on it, right? And there's a lot of motivation in that. And so, yeah, I think it's good for my mental state when I think about the disorder to be trying to think of a way to fix and help those around me with the research we're doing.
Yeah. I think it's cool. The fact that you're front line and you have FSHD and it's a remarkable, point of view to have. For 2021 coming up, what are the hopes for your work at that, coming into the next
well, so right now we are doing studies in animal models to show kind of proof of concept of the drugs. So we have experiments in vitro, and now we want to show in animal models that the drugs can work, right, and that they can reverse the symptoms and phenotype of FSHD in animals, right?
Okay.
And so for 2021, we really want to show that because that's a big step forward for the compound. And then we also want to try to finish as much as we can the optimization work to kind of go from a preliminary therapeutic to something we can start to really test and move forward in later stage animal models, and start to generate data to bring to FDA to get approval to go into the clinic.
Now then, do you take some money, some funds? So with events like this, FSHD, doing the radiothon here on Giving Tuesday and other walk and roll events, and even other FSHD, groups, if it's the Carino Foundation or whatnot, trying to funnel money into treatment, what kind of value do you put on things like this?
Oh, we have had a huge amount of value from the FSHD community and the non-for-profits that patients and family members support. So we have a grant from the FSHD Society. One of our scientists also has a grant from Friends of FSH Research, and we could not have started the program without those two investments. And we continue to talk to Chris Carino Foundation and others to get support, from them to push our program forward. But we're also looking at government grants, right? And I think we will have one of those very soon. And private investors are also supporting the program. So all those things coming together, is really great to have happen. I think will give us the resources to push forward our program.
Awesome. For people that want to learn more about the work you're doing, is there a website they can go to, or some way they can kind of connect if need be?
Yeah. Definitely they can go to our website. So I want me to just say the website over the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's www.mirecule.com. They can also email me directly if they wanted to. My email address is anthony@mirecule.com.
Perfect. Thank you, Anthony, for joining us today on this Giving Tuesday event and sharing the work you're doing. I wish you best of luck on that work, not just for yourself, but our whole community. You have our support, whatever you need, we're here, and we really appreciate your time and what you're doing.
No, thank you so much, Tim. And thank you for the opportunity to speak with you about this, your important society and the importance of helping, companies and the space in general push forward for a cure.
Absolutely.